Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Tom O'Brien. Many of us have heard that the World Health Organization rates the United States second in quality of overall healthcare delivery. Second from the bottom. There's something wrong with the way we think about addressing healthcare issues, just at a fundamental level. We also now know that the autoimmune mechanism is the #1 cause of morbidity and mortality in the industrialized world. Atherosclerosis is an autoimmune mechanism in its initiating phases. There are hundreds of studies on this. So if we look at what's the #1 issue that most of our patients are presenting with, it's an autoimmune mechanism, whether or not it has progressed into an autoimmune disease. With that concept in mind, I submit we always want to consider, is there an autoimmune mechanism going on for whatever your patient is presenting with? Next fact, we now know that there are over 300 different autoimmune diseases that have been associated with the sensitivity to gluten. Over 300. That doesn't mean that's the only mechanism, but it's a primary mechanism. Next fact, doctors think they know about gluten. Really? Really? So let me ask you this question. Can you explain why in the Journal of the American Medical Association in 2009, they published the largest study ever on celiac patients, 39,000 celiac patients, and they say that if you're diagnosed with celiac disease as an adult, you have a 3.86 increased risk of mortality in the first year after diagnosis. If you can explain that, then you know about gluten. If you cannot explain that, and if that just kind of catches, what? Almost 4-fold increased risk of dying in the first year after diagnosis? What's different after you get a diagnosis of celiac disease? You go on a gluten-free diet. But we all know if you have celiac disease, you have to go on a gluten-free diet. But you have close to a 4-fold increased risk of death if you're diagnosed in the first year? I submit that there's so much more to know about this. Now, why is it important? Because there's over 300 autoimmune diseases associated with a sensitivity to gluten. That's why you need to know more. It's a primary contributor in the mechanisms in developing autoimmune disease, which most of our patients have going on inside their bodies, whether or not they have the symptoms. No one gets psoriasis when the lesions first pop up on their skin. They've been underneath the surface for many, many years. One more fact, children diagnosed with celiac disease have a 3-fold increase of long-term mortality with or without a gluten-free diet. That means 5 years out or more, they're 3 times more likely to die if they're a celiac than if they're not a celiac of something. Most common cause is suicide. This is unacceptable. I've had 2 patients that have died of suicide. 2. Unacceptable that this happens. Unacceptable. So I created the Certified Gluten Practitioner program so that you will know the current literature, you will know the comprehensive methods of identifying this. How many of your patients have had blood tests for gluten sensitivity, comes back negative, and yet they feel better on a gluten-free diet? What's wrong with that picture? It's the tests. So you will know how to test properly. You will know how to treat comprehensively. You will know what to do with this primary cause in the development of autoimmune diseases, the #1 to #3 cause of getting sick and dying in the world. You will be competent at this. You will be exceptionally competent at this. That's my goal. Once you're certified, we will support you completely in carrying this information out to your patients. We have PowerPoint presentations you can give in the community. I send you research articles, 2 copies, the clean copy to share with your peers, a highlighted copy of the bullet points, because you don't have time to read all the articles. That's my job. But I'll give you the highlighted points. You need to know this and this in the article. We send those to you every few weeks. We'll support you every way that we can think of to support you so that you are the expert in your community, identifying and treating this comprehensively to address autoimmune diseases. It's heartbreaking to have patients that you can't help, or when your patients aren't responding as thoroughly as you think they should be. What are you missing? What are you missing? So very often you will find that it's a food sensitivity, and the most common food sensitivity is gluten, that may be inhibiting the progress that you should be getting with your patients. So what's the next step? As you study the Certified Gluten Practitioner program, I can guarantee you're going to be startled by the information you learn. One example, just one. 39% of celiac children have bacteria in their gut never identified in humans, not in any microbiology laboratory or in any microbiology library, never identified in humans. 2 years on a gluten-free diet, 19% of them still have this bacteria, which is secreting toxins into their system. That's the kind of information you're going to learn as to why sometimes your patients aren't getting the results that they should be with the protocols you've been using. When you include a comprehensive overview of does this patient have a gluten sensitivity, and if so, what do I do about it, you will find your results skyrocket and your patients are thriving. I encourage you to become the autoimmune expert for the patients in your care. Exploring the Certified Gluten Practitioner program, you will gain the confidence and knowledge to be that person. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you.